Hey, and welcome back to another mini project. So, you might be wondering, where am I getting all these little mini projects from? Well, I have a couple of Java books laying around, and I kind of skim through them, like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Maybe I'll implement this into the little tutorial series. So that's where I got this one from, and it's called Distance Traveled. So what this is going to do is going to take the speed the user gives us and the time the user gives us, multiply those two values together, and that's going to give our distance. Well, the neat thing about this one is we're going to actually have like a little graph. I don't want to say graph, but a chart that kind of shows you in 1 hour we traveled, let's say 10 miles. In 2 hours we traveled 20 miles. In 3 hours we traveled 30 hours. Something simple like that. And then, of course, we'll do some validations into it later on, kind of like we did in the other one. But that's the scenario. We're going to take some user input. We're going to figure out the time and distance that the user gives us. And I'll give you a moment to stop right here to kind of think, well, which one are we going to use, the for, while, or do loop in this mini project? So go ahead and pause the video. That's fine. Go ahead. All right. And we're going to go with it now. So here we go. So we're going to do File, New, Java Project. And we're going to call this Distance. And within distance, I'm going to create a class, not a package. A class called, what are we going to call this? Distance Traveled? D-R-A-V. Traveled. There we go. Public static void main. Make sure that I just checked. Like I said, this is going to take input from the user, so we have to import the java.util.scanner class. Of course, as always, delete this, so we don't need any of that. Let's go get our scanner set up. My favorite KB. That's what I was taught, and that's what I like using. You can call it dog chase cat, whatever you wanted to. KB works for me because it's just simple for a keyboard input, I guess. Okay, so we have that. Off the top of my head, I can think that we're going to need two variables. Need one for speed and one for hours. Because we definitely got to get that from the user. So let's go ahead and let's get the stuff going from the users that we need. And I forgot the dot. No. Sometimes pop-up boxes are nice. Sometimes they're kind of a pain. So we'll ask see how fast are we going? How fast are we traveling? Let's stick with the traveling theme here. Okay, so that's speed equals kb dot next int. So now we got the speed from the user. Let's also get how many hours were we gone, I guess. Or how about how many hours did it take to complete our trip? That sounds a little better, doesn't it? So we have hours equals kb dot next int. Alright, so we have that and that. Alright. I don't know if I mentioned this yet or not, but I'm going to use the while loop. A for loop would work just fine, but I'm going to use a while loop this time because we used a for loop in the last video. So to get this going, I played around with it earlier so I could make sure I could do it one way. There's probably a million different ways to solve this, but the way I came up with was I made a control variable, and this control variable was just set to 1. So this is what allows us to iterate through our program. Okay, so while the control is less than or equal to whatever the user gives us for hours. And maybe control is not the best variable name because it's not really descriptive. Actually, we could say we call this, let's change this to time. It might be a little easier to understand. Okay, so we have this. So now this is where we're going to make our distance variable. I'm just going to call it dist. And so we're going to take our the time control variable that we have. We're going to times that by the speed that we're going. And then we're going to do a system dot out dot print line. This is where we're going to print the stuff back to the user. So we're going to say time plus, I'm going to give a bunch of space for right now. We'll worry about formatting later, or not at all. It just depends. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to have to iterate through our program. So we're going to do a time plus plus. So it starts off with 1. Is 1 less than or equal to the hours that they gave us? Well, yes, it is. We're going to do our math. As it goes to 2, is 2 less than the hours they gave us? Well, yes, it is. And it goes through. It was time. No, now it's 3. Is 3 less than whatever the hours is? And it'll just keep looping through this until it hits whatever the hours the user gave us. So we're going to run this. And I'm just going to say how fast we're going. I'm going to say 40. And I'm going to say 3. Because at the most, it should be 120. So we should have 40, 80, 120. There you go. So we have at 1 hour, it's 40. 2 hours, it's 80. At 3 hours, it's 120. So to make it look a little bit nicer, we could actually add in a system, system dot out dot print line, and we could do, say, hour, and then I'm not sure how much spaces we need, but we're going to stop right about there maybe, and we'll say distance D-R-A-V-E-L-E-D traveled. And then we'll do another one. And give like a little bunch of underscores. B-R-I-N-T-L-N with underscores. Oops. Home button. There we go. That might look a little bit better. Let's try this now. Oops. Cancel. Cancel, cancel. You are supposed to be in quotes, mister. Yes, you are. There you go. Much better. Okay. So that. Hopefully this lines up pretty good. I'm just guessing. So we're going to go with the same speed, 40 and 3. It's a little off, but we can just add more spaces in there. It doesn't have to be too perfect, but there you go. So that looks a little bit nicer. Well, this all is good and dandy, but what if the user gives us like a negative number? So I'm going to take all this and I'm going to tab it in one. I'm going to say an if. And we'll say if. Well, actually, if couldn't be negative for sure. So if couldn't be negative. If speed couldn't be negative. So if speed is less than 0. Or actually, and hours less than 0. We don't want this to run at all. We'll say end of if, just so we don't get confused here, and this would be end of while loop. So if they give us a value that's less than 0 and less than, or hours less than 0, then don't run this. So we're going to put this down a little bit. We're going to do a system system.out.println, and we'll say speed and hours must be a positive number. Okay, and that there, this would be our else statement. Let's test this real quick. So we'll give it the value that we know that works. Run it again. We'll give it -1 and 40. I should have kicked it out. Let's see what we did wrong here. Okay, this is what's going on. Since I have this and in here, like both these conditions have to be true to fire this. So we'll change this to or. So this should work. So how fast are you traveling? We're going to say we're going -100 miles an hour. And how long did it take you to complete this trip? Well, it took 1 hour. Speed in hours must be a positive number. So there you go. So our validation is working now. I do apologize about that, but those little things happen. So being able to diagnose what you did wrong is definitely a big key thing to do. So let's run this one more time. Just make sure, since I did put this validation, it is working properly. I'm going to say, how fast are we traveling? I'm going to say 120 miles an hour. Why not? And how long did it take us? I'm going to say 100 hours. There you go. There's another little mini project that we've gotten done and underneath their belt with doing the while loop with a little bit of validation. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're learning a lot, really. This is what, number 28, I think, somewhere around there. So until then, you guys have a great and glorious day. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. Got any questions? Leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer when I can. Until then, see you guys later.